Cheap? Did she just call my dress cheap? The words shot through me like a knife. My chest tightened, my throat burned, and my hands began to shake. I felt the heat rise to my face as the laughter around me echoed in my ears like cruel bells. Her friends clutched their stomachs, giggling like schoolgirls. My own son stood there, red-faced, his eyes glued to the floor. Not a word in my defense. At that moment, I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear off the dress, hurl it in her face, and storm out. But instead, I swallowed my rage. My lips trembled, but I forced them shut. I forced a smile that wasn't real, because what she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had already been planning something. Something she would never forget. You don't just become a mother and stop being a woman. That's what I've always believed. I raised my son Daniel mostly on my own. His father left us when he was 9. No warning, no goodbye, just a note on the kitchen counter and an empty bank account. I picked up the pieces, worked 2 jobs, and made sure Daniel never went hungry, never went without school trips, never felt unloved. I sacrificed everything for him. My youth, my health, even my dignity some days. When I cleaned the same offices where people half my age looked right past me, like I was invisible. But I did it for Daniel. Always for Daniel. And when he got into college, I thought, finally, the world will pay him back for all the nights I stayed up ironing his uniform, for all the times I went without new shoes so he could have books. I thought maybe he'd find a girl who'd respect that, who'd respect me, but then came her. The first time I met Emily, it was Thanksgiving. Daniel had been dating Emily for 6 months, and he brought her to dinner. I still remember the sound of her heels clicking against my kitchen tiles. Too sharp, too loud for my modest little home. She walked in wearing a fur coat that looked too expensive for a 24-year-old to own. Her nails were painted blood red, her perfume so strong it made my eyes water. She looked around my house, my small 2-bedroom home I had worked my whole life to keep, and I swear I saw it. That smirk, that little flicker of disgust that passed across her face before she quickly covered it with a fake smile. "Hi, Mrs. Collins," she said, her voice sugar-sweet. "This place is cozy, not warm, not homey, cozy, like a dollhouse, like it was small, like it wasn't good enough, but I let it go. I told myself I was being sensitive, that I wanted Daniel's happiness, not my pride, so I smiled. I served dinner. I ignored the way she picked at her food, whispering to Daniel when she thought I wasn't looking. I ignored how she asked about the nearest Whole Foods, like my local grocery store wasn't worthy. I ignored everything, because Daniel looked happy. And that was enough. The wedding plans. When Daniel told me he was going to marry Emily, my heart sank. But I clapped. I hugged him. I told him I was proud. I didn't want to lose him. From that day forward, the wedding became Emily's stage, and my slow humiliation. She never asked me for input, not once. The colors, the food, the flowers, all chosen by her and her family. When I asked about the guest list, she gave me a tight smile. "Oh, don't worry, Mrs. Collins, we've got it covered. We, not Daniel. We, her and her mother. Do you know how it feels to raise a son on your own, only to have another woman step in and act like she owns him? Like you're just the extra, the inconvenient side character?" It stung. Still, I bit my tongue, until it came time for the dress. The dress I don't buy much for myself. Never have, but for my son's wedding, I wanted to look beautiful, not glamorous, not flashy, just beautiful. Respectable. A mother who gave everything and stood proud on the day her boy became a man. I saved up for 6 months. Every extra dollar from every cleaning shift went into a small envelope tucked under my mattress. I didn't tell Daniel. I didn't tell anyone. And one Saturday morning, I took that envelope to a boutique downtown. Not one of those overpriced designer stores Emily and her mother loved. No, this one was mine. A small, quiet place run by a kind older woman named Maria. She helped me find it. A deep navy blue gown, simple but elegant. Long sleeves that hid the scars on my arms from years of scrubbing. A soft, flowing skirt that made me feel lighter than I had in decades. When I put it on, I cried. Maria hugged me. "You look like a queen." For the first time in years, I believed her. The wedding day. The church bells were already ringing when I arrived. I walked in holding my head high, clutching the small clutch purse I'd borrowed from a friend. I smiled at the relatives, hugged the cousins, greeted the neighbors, and then I saw her. Emily. Standing at the front of the church, surrounded by her bridesmaids, her hair twisted into an elaborate bun, her veil cascading down like she thought she was royalty. She turned. She saw me, and then it happened. The mockery. She pointed. Actually pointed. Look at her dress, she whispered loudly to her friends. It looks so cheap, the bridesmaids gasped. Then came the laughter. Cruel, echoing, stabbing laughter. One of them even muttered, "Looks like she got it off a clearance rack." And they all giggled harder. I froze. Every nerve in my body screamed. My hands clutched my purse so tightly I thought the clasp would break. My heart pounded against my ribs. I turned to Daniel. My boy, my son, and he said nothing. Nothing. He lowered his head, cheeks flushed, as though I was the one embarrassing him. That was the moment. The exact second the rage began to boil inside me. Because I realized something. I had spent my whole life protecting him, defending him, standing up for him. And here I was, mocked, humiliated, disrespected, while he stood silent. My son's silence was worse than Emily's words, and that silence planted a seed in me, a seed of vengeance. Cheap, that word didn't leave me. Not through the vows, not through the reception, not even when I lay awake that night staring at my ceiling fan, spin in slow, endless circles. The laughter echoed in my head, over and over. Her pointing finger, the bridesmaid's gasps, my son's silence, it replayed like a broken record, each spin grinding deeper into my chest. I wanted to believe it was just nerves, that maybe she hadn't meant it as cruelly as it sounded. But deep down, I knew better. Emily wasn't careless. She was calculated, and over the weeks after the wedding, she proved it. The first red flags it started small. I'd call Daniel on a Sunday evening, like I always had. He used to answer right away. We'd talk about work, football, the new movie he wanted to see, just normal mother-son things, but now, "Sorry, Mom, I can't talk right now." His voice was always rushed, distracted. And sometimes, faint in the background, I heard her voice, sharp, annoyed. One evening, I asked if he wanted to come over for dinner. I had made his favorite roast chicken with rosemary. He hesitated. Emily doesn't really like, heavy food. She's more into plant-based stuff." "Daniel," I said, swallowing the sting. "I didn't cook it for her." "I cooked it for you," he chuckled nervously. "Yeah, but Mom, you know how she gets." That was the first time I heard it. You know how she gets. Like he was making excuses for her. Like I should understand. Like it was normal for him to walk on eggshells in his own marriage. The lockout, then came the day I went to visit. I'd baked a pie. Daniel loved my pies. Apple, cinnamon, just the way he liked it. I rang the doorbell, excited to surprise him. Emily answered. Her face fell immediately. "Oh. Hi, Mrs. Collins." Her voice was flat, cold. I held up the pie. "I made this for Daniel." She glanced behind her, then back at me. "He's not here." I could see his shoes by the door. His jacket hung on the rack. His car in the driveway. But I didn't argue. I just stood there, clutching the pie, feeling like I was 15 years old again. Rejected. Unwanted. "Okay," I whispered. "I'll come back another time." I walked back to my car with tears blurring my vision. By the time I got home, the pie was ruined, smashed against the inside of its container from my shaking hands. The birthday incident, Daniel's 30th birthday, came. I spent weeks preparing the perfect gift. I put together a scrapbook. Every photo I'd saved of him. Every little memory, from his first steps to his graduation. I even included the note he had written me when he was 12. "Mom, you're the best mom ever. I'll never forget what you do for me." When I handed it to him at the party, he smiled softly, flipping through the pages. But then Emily leaned over his shoulder. "What's this?" She laughed. "Oh, scrapbook? That's sweet." The way she said sweet wasn't admiration. It was mockery. Then she rolled her eyes and whispered loudly enough for the others to hear. "Daniel, don't you think it's a little childish?" My stomach dropped, and once again, my son stayed silent. The money. A few months later, Daniel called me. His voice was tight, nervous. "Mom, I need a favor." "Anything," I said. "Well, Emily and I are trying to buy a bigger house, but the bank wants a larger down payment. Do you think you could help us out?" "Just a loan," I blinked. "A loan? Daniel, you know I don't have much." "I know, Mom, but you've been saving, right?" "You said once you had a little put aside." I froze. He knew about the envelope. I had told him once, years ago, that I was saving for emergencies. "That money's for my retirement." "Daniel," I whispered. In the background, I heard Emily's voice, sharp, demanding. "Tell her it's just temporary. She doesn't even need it right now." My hand trembled around the phone. "I can't," I said firmly. Silence. Then a cold, clipped reply. "Fine, Mom. Don't worry about it." He hung up. The betrayal unfolds. From that moment on, things shifted. The calls came less often. When I did hear from him, his tone was short, distant. And then, the final straw. I was at the grocery store when I ran into a neighbor. She smiled, chatting casually, and then said, "Oh, congratulations on the new baby." I blinked. "What baby?" "Your son's! Emily's pregnant. They announced it on Facebook yesterday. Didn't you see?" My blood ran cold. They hadn't told me. Not even a call. Not even a message. I had to hear it from a stranger in the produce aisle. I rushed home, turned on my laptop, and logged into Facebook. And there it was, a glowing picture of Emily holding her stomach, Daniel standing behind her with his arms wrapped around her. The caption, "Can't wait to welcome baby Collins into our perfect little family." Perfect little family. I scrolled through the comments, everyone congratulating them, friends, coworkers, even distant relatives. And then I saw it. Emily's mother had written, "So proud of my daughter and our growing family. This child will have everything, love, stability, and the best role models. No mention of me, like I didn't exist, like my blood, my sacrifices, my life didn't matter." The boiling point that night, I sat at my kitchen table staring at the navy blue dress still hanging in the corner. The dress that started it all, her laugh, her mockery, his silence, the scrapbook, the money, the baby announcement. Piece by piece, they had erased me. But I wasn't gone. Not yet. And as I sat there, I felt something inside me harden. Something sharp. If Emily wanted a war, she had just declared it. Because I was done being silent. I had given Daniel everything. And now they wanted to take even my dignity, my place in my own son's life. No, not without a fight. I opened my drawer, pulled out a notebook, and wrote one word at the top of the page: revenge. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table with the navy blue dress draped across the chair beside me, staring at that notebook. The word revenge at the top of the page looked back at me like a dare. My hands trembled as I turned the page and began writing. Step 1. Learn everything about Emily. If I was going to destroy her, I needed to know her weaknesses. Every mask she wore, every skeleton she hid in her closet. Because one thing I've learned in life is this: people like Emily, people who sneer, who mock, who belittle others, they always have something to hide, and I was going to find it. Digging at first. I started small. Social media. Emily's Instagram was a glossy shrine of perfection. Designer bags, luxury vacations, sparkling champagne glasses raised in endless toasts. All smiles, all filters. But if you looked closely, there were cracks. There was one photo of her in Paris, clutching a Louis Vuitton bag. In the comments, a girl had written, "Wait, isn't that the purse you borrowed from me? Thought you were returning it last week, Lowell." The comment had no reply. A week later, it was deleted. Then another post, Emily in a brand new Mercedes, captioned, Hard work pays off. Except the license plate in the corner didn't match the state registration I knew they had. A quick search confirmed it. The car was leased under her father's name. Image after image, I realized. Her entire life was a performance. A borrowed crown and performances, they crumble under pressure. The bank visit. But I needed more than Instagram slip-ups. So, one afternoon, I walked into the bank where Daniel used to have his savings account. I still knew the branch manager, a kind man named Mr. Harris. He had seen me countless times depositing paychecks when Daniel was a boy. He looked surprised to see me. Mrs. Collins. Been a while, I smiled, pretending casual. Yes, just thought I'd check in on some old accounts. Daniel's mostly, though I suppose he handles things differently now. At the mention of Daniel's name, Mr. Harris's expression flickered. Just for a second. Everything all right? I asked lightly. He hesitated. Well, I can't share details, you know that. But tell Daniel to be careful. That's all I'll say. Careful. My pulse quickened. I thanked him and left, but inside I was boiling. What had Emily gotten him into? The whisper. The answer came from an unexpected place. A week later, I ran into one of Daniel's old college friends at the library. A good kid named Brian. He spotted me, smiled, and we started chatting. Then he lowered his voice. Mrs. Collins, can I ask? Is Daniel okay? I blinked. Why? Well, I don't know if it's true, but someone told me Emily's been racking up debts. Credit cards, loans, even gambling apps. I just thought, if it's true, Daniel might be in trouble. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. Debts. Gambling. My son. I clenched my fists so tightly my nails cut into my palms. That was it. The crack I needed. The first discovery. I went home and began digging deeper. Not online this time. Real digging. I remembered how Emily once bragged at Thanksgiving about her business ventures. She never explained what they were, just tossed the phrase around like a crown. So I checked the county clerk's office website, and there it was. 2 failed LLCs registered under her name in the past 3 years, both dissolved for unpaid taxes, both with suspiciously similar names, like she kept trying to rebrand the same scam. But that wasn't all. Buried in the public records was something even darker. A small claims court case. Emily had been sued by a former roommate for theft. The case had been dismissed only because the roommate didn't show up on the final hearing date. The words leapt off the screen. Defendant accused of stealing $4,500 in cash and personal belongings. My jaw tightened. The mask was slipping, planting seeds, but I couldn't just barge into Daniel's house waving court documents. He was too blind, too wrapped around her finger. He'd defend her. No, I had to be smarter. So I started small. At the next family dinner, I casually asked Emily about her business ventures. She plastered on a smile. Oh, they're going great. Lots of exciting projects. Oh, really? I tilted my head. Funny. I thought one of your LLCs dissolved last year. What was it called again? Something Solutions? For the briefest second, her eyes widened. Then she laughed nervously. Oh, that was just a side project. Doesn't matter, but the damage was done. Daniel looked at her sharply. Just for a second, a seed of doubt. Planted. The baby shower. Then came the baby shower. Her family hosted it, of course. A grand, over-the-top event at a country club, complete with ice sculptures and champagne towers. I felt like a stranger at my own grandchild's celebration, but I played my role. I smiled. I clapped. I handed Emily a neatly wrapped box containing a handmade quilt. The same one my mother had made for me when Daniel was born. It was tradition. She opened it, glanced at it, and forced a tight smile. Oh, thanks. Then she set it aside, didn't even hold it up for the room to see. But when her friend handed her a designer baby bag, she squealed like a child on Christmas morning. The humiliation burned my chest like acid. That night, as I sat alone, I swore she wouldn't mock me again. The document 2 weeks later, fate handed me the weapon I needed. I was sorting through old boxes in my attic when I found an envelope, tucked inside one of Daniel's old yearbooks. Inside was a letter from Emily addressed to someone named Mark. The date was from a year before she married Daniel. Unfolded it with trembling hands. Mark, I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. Daniel is sweet, but he's not exactly ambitious. You and I both know I deserve better, but he's safe. And once the wedding is over, at least I'll have stability. Just be patient. I'll figure out how to make it work for us. My blood turned to fire. She had never loved him. Never. He was just her safety net. And Mark, whoever he was the real prize. I pressed the letter to my chest, my breath ragged. This was it. This was the crack that would shatter her. The plan forms. I didn't rush. Oh no, revenge isn't about speed. It's about patience. Precision. I tucked the letter back into the envelope, slid it into my notebook, and began planning. Step 1. Confirm who Mark was. Step 2. Prove Emily was still in contact with him. Step 3. Time the reveal perfectly. When it would hurt her the most, because humiliation wasn't enough anymore. I wanted destruction. And when I was done, Emily wouldn't just regret mocking my dress. She'd regret ever stepping into my son's life. Do you know what power tastes like? It's not sweet. It's not bitter. It's sharp, like steel on the tongue. That's what I felt when I held Emily's letter in my hand. For weeks, she had laughed at me, dismissed me, erased me. But now I had her lifeline, the rope she'd hung herself with, and I was going to pull. Step 1. Marky needed to find him. The mysterious Mark. I started where anyone would. Facebook. Too many Marks to count. So I cross-referenced. I searched Emily's old friends, college acquaintances, tagged photos. And then I found him. Mark Reynolds. A smug-looking man in his 30s with slicked-back hair, endless posts about networking, and a grin that screamed arrogance. But one photo caught my attention. It was taken 2 years ago. Emily and Mark, shoulder to shoulder, drinks in hand, at some rooftop bar. The caption, Power Couple Energy. I stared at it until my eyes burned. Power couple. That's what she thought she and Mark were. And Daniel? Just the backup plan. I clenched my fist around my mouse. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. Step 2. The wire finding. Him wasn't enough. I needed proof. Current proof. So I called in a favor. A woman I used to work with, Sandra. She had a brother who dabbled in private investigation. I told him what I needed. He chuckled and said, "You want her phone records, don't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. 2 weeks later, he handed me a neat folder. Dozens of calls, dozens of texts. To Mark Reynolds. At all hours, late at night, early in the morning. Even during the weeks she'd claimed she was too sick to visit me. My stomach twisted, but not with pain this time. With triumph, because now I had everything. Step 3. The stage revenge isn't just about truth. It's about timing, about making sure the knife doesn't just cut. It twists. The perfect stage? The baby's christening. It was Emily's event, her grand showcase. She'd invited everyone, her family, her friends, her co-workers, even the same bridesmaids who'd laughed at my dress. I would wait until the moment all eyes were on her. And then, I'd detonate her world. The day arrives. The church was full, buzzing with chatter. Emily floated in wearing white lace, cradling the baby like she was Madonna herself. Cameras flashed, relatives cooed, and she smiled like the queen she thought she was. I sat quietly in the second pew, my navy blue dress hugging my frame. Yes, that dress, the same one she mocked. I wore it like armor. She noticed. Oh, she noticed. Her smirk faltered for just a second before she looked away. Good. Let her squirm. The ceremony began. Hymns sung, prayers murmured, the priest lifting his hands in blessing. And then, the moment. The priest turned to Emily. "Would you like to say a few words as the mother?" She stepped forward, smiling, glowing under the spotlight. "Yes, thank you, Father. I just want to say how grateful I am for this beautiful family, for my amazing husband, and for this perfect child. We are truly—" I stood up. "Liar." The word boomed through the church, sharp as a whip. Gasps erupted. Heads swiveled. Daniel's face drained of color. Emily froze at the altar, her mouth open like a caught fish. The reveal walked down the aisle slowly, each step deliberate, my heels clicking like a drumbeat of war. "You stand here, pretending to be devoted, pretending to be loyal." I spat, my voice trembling with fury. "But I know the truth." I reached the front, pulled the envelope from my purse, and held it high. "This is your handwriting, isn't it, Emily? A love letter to Mark Reynolds. Written while you were engaged to my son." Gasps rippled again. A cousin muttered, "Oh my God," Emily stammered, her face pale. That's not—" But I wasn't done. I pulled out the second folder, snapping it open. And these? I held up the phone records, hundreds of calls, hundreds of texts, to Mark, all while you carried my grandchild. Tell me, Emily, was he in the hospital room too, whispering in your ear? The church erupted. Whispers, murmurs, heads shaking. Daniel staggered back like he'd been punched. Emily's hands trembled. "Daniel, don't listen to her. Shut up!" His voice cracked like thunder, and for the first time she looked scared. The collapsed Daniel grabbed the folder from my hand, flipping through the pages, his face growing darker with each one. "Is this true?" he demanded, his voice shaking. Emily reached for him, but he recoiled. "Daniel, I swear, it's not what it looks like. Not what it looks like!" He roared so loudly even the baby wailed. "You've been using me, playing me." Was any of it real? Tears streamed down her face. She dropped to her knees, sobbing, begging, but no one moved to help her, not even her own bridesmaids. The mask had shattered, and beneath it, everyone saw what I had always known, a fraud, the final blow. But I wasn't finished. I turned to the crowd, my voice calm now. For years I was silent. I let her mock me, belittle me, erase me. But not anymore. You want to know who Emily really is? Check the public records. Failed businesses, lawsuits for theft, gambling debts she's still hiding from you. Gasps turned into glares, whispers into condemnation. Emily sobbed harder, clutching at her lace dress like it could shield her. But it couldn't. Daniel stepped forward, his face hard, his eyes cold. "Get out," he said. Her head snapped up. "Well, what?" "Get out." And just like that, it was over. She stumbled down the aisle, tears streaking her face, her white lace dragging behind her like a defeated flag. And I stood there, in my navy blue dress, unbroken. The aftermath. The reception was canceled. Guests left in shocked silence. Daniel stayed behind, holding the baby, tears streaming down his face. He turned to me. "Mom, I'm so sorry." I cupped his face, forcing him to meet my eyes. "Don't be sorry, Daniel. Be smarter. For your child. For yourself." He nodded, broken but awake for the first time. And as we walked out of that church together, I felt it. Relief. Triumph. Closure. Because Emily had mocked my dress. But I had torn her entire world apart, and I'd do it again. The divorce was swift, ruthless. She left the marriage with nothing but her clothes and her shame. Her friends abandoned her, her lover disappeared, and the whispers never stopped. But I wasn't finished. Remember the fake heirloom necklace I gave her? The one with the tracker? I exposed that too. I told anyone who would listen that she wore counterfeit jewelry. I leaked photos of her flaunting my family diamonds online, followed by the truth. They were worthless fakes. Her reputation as a classy, elegant woman crumbled overnight. People mocked her, called her a fraud, a social climber. The same laughter she once aimed at me now followed her everywhere she went. And for the first time since the wedding, I slept peacefully. My son eventually found his strength again. He came to me one evening, hugged me tight and whispered, "Mom, thank you. You saved me." Tears stung my eyes, not because I was sad, but because I knew. I had done what any mother would do. I had protected my child, but I had also protected myself, because no one humiliates me in front of the world and walks away untouched, and that's how the bride who mocked my cheap dress ended up stripped of everything. Her dignity, her wealth, her smile, burned to ashes by the woman she underestimated, me.